Hey guys, thank you for coming back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about the Foretale or remscéla of the Cattle Raid of Cooley. And the Foretale, I might have mentioned this before, but it's Macha's curse, or the curse of the Ulstermen, is the tale that kind of sets the stage for the Cattle Raid of Cooley, and that's where Macha curses the Ulstermen who make her race against the horses. So in the battle that ends up happening, all the Ulstermen are unable to fight when Meb comes from the south, joins all the forces of Ireland to fight the north and try to capture the most sterile bull in the land called Don Laine, if that's how you pronounce that. Anyway, so in my own story, Modern Legend, there's also a foretale before my main character Laine enters the Cattle Raid of Cooley to help Cuchulainn. She actually, well, I should just say she starts out kind of on a lonely mountaintop in Montana called Roman Hill, and that's where she starts writing her blog, Modern Legend, same name. And she kind of starts to write herself into the story. So it happens one day when she's walking with a relative he comes over from England. His name's Jerry, and he's actually of Irish descent, but he comes to Montana to visit, and they're walking around Lake Como, which is named after the Lake Como in Italy, because the Father Ravalli came over from Italy, and he tried to assimilate the tribes of the Bitterroot and the Mission valleys. So the lake got named after Father Ravalli and Lake Como. So anyway, Laine in the story, she is walking around this lake with her relative, and they come across this unexpected sutrin, or I don't know, just an unusual cave kind of thing as they're walking the trail. And what ends up happening is Laine ends up tripping and falling and kind of has some kind of concussion, and that's really where she goes into this fantasy mode. And she has a wild imagination, so she envisions that the spirit of Father Ravalli comes and picks her up and actually turns her into a sheep. I should mention that during this part in the story, she kind of feels disempowered in her life and is kind of, very lonely up on Roman Hill, and befriends a sheep there. So in the story, she sort of becomes the sheep, and Father Ravalli sends her to Italy, basically, in this fantasy that she goes into. She walks up the hill. Her relative isn't in the proximity, but when she walks up the hill, she finds that he is dressed in a different century. So he's tending over some crops with two twin boys, and Laine, as the sheep, sort of goes up to him and tries to get his attention, but the the relative, or as he looks to be, doesn't recognize her at all. So as she like goes along in the story, she gravitates towards one of the twins, and she realizes it's Romulus of the Romulus and Remus myth, the one who founds Rome. So Laine the sheep is she's kind of like synonymous with Romulus. Like, they share a lot of the same traits. Their families are kind of similar in that they don't really understand them. They're sort of the black sheeps of the family, and she's literally a black sheep. So I was gonna say that this is just the foretale of the story, of Laine's story, before she goes into the Cattle Raid of Cooley to help Cuchulainn fight Meb's army. But Meb is really her boss at the children's home, and all the kids in the army are, or the youth in the army are kids from the children's home. And Cuchulainn is Max, her ex-boyfriend, and Fergus is one of her co-workers as well. So all the people in the story represent sort of somebody else, and that's just the way it is. I was gonna say that on a like realistic level, there are foretales, or like chapters in our own lives that sometimes we don't make sense of until much later. Like, they just seem so random and kind of like non sequitur. Is that what you say when speech just doesn't align? Oh, I was gonna say, there's an author called Zora Neale Hurston, and she said some chapters some parts of life are for asking questions, and some are for answering. So I think that kind of goes along the same line of, yeah, there's always parts of life that we don't understand at the time, but they really do pave the way for the main part of our story. And just know that if you're having a hard time in the moment, that it'll, I don't know, just be fodder, groundwork for the best parts to come. In my story, Laine, so she actually thinks that Father Ravalli turns her into a sheep. But as the story goes along, she finds out that she's the shapeshifter, kind of like the Morrigan, how Morrigan turns into different animals. Laine can do the same thing, and she has to come upon this realization herself. No one can tell her, and yeah, that's just how she becomes empowered from feeling kind of like a sheep, like a sheepish person, to becoming who she really is, which is a amazing, adaptable, and compassionate person. Laine in the story, well, one of the things from her background is she had kind of someone from her past who abused animals. So what she does is she becomes the animals, and she kind of understands them and is sort of an advocate for them, just by I don't know, just by her understanding of them, I guess. Yes. So, I hope I touched on all the things I wanted to today. Anyways, I will see you guys back for another video next Wednesday, and until then, have a wonderful day. Love ya. Bye.